Hey Ruth, how are you? You're doing good? That's good. I came on a little bit earlier. I was going to get changed, but I figure, you know what? I'm just going to wear it. You haven't had dinner yet? Oh no. Oh no. You better go eat. You better have dinner. I had salad tonight. This isn't connecting. I don't like that. Ugh. And I want to keep it up there so everybody finds it. Hey, Georgia. Like it's just spinning and spinning. That's crazy. It's not connecting. Disconnected. Why isn't it connecting? Let me see if I could request this way. Let me go down the list and see. That is so strange. It disconnected. I don't get it. Request again. Hey, Katie. How's everyone doing tonight? Thank you for the heart, me. There we go. It's stable. If everyone could share it out, I would appreciate it. I don't have the group on this one. Oh, Paula, my grandson was confused. He said, I didn't know who sent me the package. I saw Paula. He said, I was confused with that. I was laughing. What did he say? Like, wait, I got the message. I know it was funny. He texted me. He said, and please tell her I said thank you so much. That was so awesome. And I was so surprised. I was like, who is Paula and why is she sending me stuff? Not thinking of you and TT. I opened it and was like, oh my God. And I realized who Paula was after. That was so funny. He's like, I love you. Like we had a whole conversation today, like a whole conversation over it. Like he said to me, hey, Cindy. He loves it. Like he's so excited. I didn't think something like that would make him this excited over his Tumblr. And he's like, when Pop gets his, he said, I want a video of him with it. So I sent him a picture of it. I know. Oh, Kara, he's so excited that he got it. He is like on cloud nine. He's like, I'm on a Tumblr. Oh no. We created something. He thinks he's a big deal now. And everyone I spoke to, Liz and Brian's daughter, Brian, who's in prison. I spoke to Mia, and Liz is doing as well as could be expected. She just had her spinal fusion. She's doing pretty good. I didn't expect nothing else. She's healthy otherwise. So, hey, Lady Jane, I knew she would be okay. So I think the outcome of the surgery is going to be good. But oh, I'm watching it. I know, it was a long surgery. I just finally heard from Brian also. So I'm happy. Katie, what are you doing? Do you have a copy of this book? Do you want to read? I'm getting nervous. I'm praying somehow this book appeared at the prison and I don't have to read. Oh man, my anxiety. I should take a shot. My anxiety. Where's Christy? Watch, she's not going to come in tonight. No, I won't, Katie. I don't like to read, especially like with people here. Get a shot. Ruth. Oh, the last time I did that was, God, we did that a double on here when TikTok was shutting down. I don't know who remembers that. I know Dash Mom was there. I remember Dash Mom. I had a double that night, and my daughter was like, Mom, that was a double. I didn't think you were going to do the whole thing. I remember Dash Mom being on that live, though. Yeah, you were. My daughter's like, Mom, that was a double. That was that. It was on Brett Norton's live. I remember you there. I was cracking up. This is coffee, though. I couldn't believe my daughter's face. She was sitting next to me, and she's like, you did not just do that whole thing. I'm like, sure did. But that was the night TikTok went down. For like a whole 18 hours. I hope his book showed up, but I know it didn't because they only get books on the weekends. And I don't think he got it this weekend. I hate to read. He's fired as a co-host, but I need him or else we won't have a show because I don't know anybody. Well, I kind of do in other prisons. He gets amazing guests, though. He does. I can't fire Keith. Oh, Lord. So has anybody been watching the drama on all these lives with this? I'm trying to straighten out my book with the Winter Wagner case. Oh, my God. I like the theory that Lady Jane, when you text me about that, I kind of think, I think so. I kind of think that's where she is. Were you trying to catch up on the drama? Oh my God, get a notebook. Get about 5 of them. Get 5 of them. I'm on page number 4. Wait, what page am I on? 1, 2. I'm on page number 3 of notes. And who's who? It's like, it is, Ruth. It is. I don't know. Lady Jane texted me. We were talking throughout the live, and I think she's, yeah, Ruth. Mm-hmm. I do too. Hey, Nani. But Lady Jane had a good, and I agree with her. Everybody get with this theory. What if they drove her to, ready? What if they drove her to Ohio and she's there? What if she's in Ohio? What? You can manage AI summaries and settings. I know that. Thank you. Thank you, TikTok. I kind of think that I'm going. I kind of like that theory. Lady J, we've been in all the same lives at night. You know, I slept 2 hours and 5 minutes last night. 2 hours and 5 minutes. I just checked my sleeping. I'm checking our notes. I think she ran away to her. You think? But wait, isn't her boyfriend the one that's in Florida? I don't know. Like, that's what we got to figure out next. We have a location now. We're going to figure that part out. I don't know. Wait, isn't her boyfriend's, aren't they in Florida. Somebody's out here, I think. But what part of Florida? I heard Florida. So wait a minute. They winter to so took winter to Ohio. He had her car. She was out with her sister and mom. I don't know. Wait, another grandmother. Yeah, I know. So today we unlocked another character, and that was that Joe guy, the neighbor and pastor. I don't think I'm back at the other theory. I don't think it's the foster dad again. I mean, he may have problems, but I don't think he is. I need a cheat sheet of all the players. Dash mom. As soon as I straighten mine out, I'll screenshot it and send you mine. I just got to redo some of the characters because I got to put them in order because I have them all over the place. I'm getting ages. So we did find out. I found out how old. So Maddie is 32. Remember, we didn't know how old she is. She is 32. I have her age. Kyler's 25, Summer's 32, and Maddie's 32. So as soon as Maddie said her age, I was in the kitchen. I was getting dinner for my husband, and I'm like, wait, I got to go for my notebook. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, I got to write this down because I know I'll forget it. And I'm like, I have to write down Maddie, 32. So I wrote it. I got her age. I just got to make sense of it because I had this all scribbled in. I had to scribble something. So now I wrote it. I'm writing it neater and in order. So I'm trying to get this and make some sense of it. We have Johnny's the cousin of Summer. Oh, Lord. Like these notes are... I'm trying to get them all like neat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate that. So tonight, Keith Erickson, my co-host, he's going to be reading his book, his third book, Trauma Unraveled. And this is my co-host, Keith. Look at that. He's getting all his tattoos. He had face tattoos and he's having them removed. They're removing them in prison. So if you are doing well in prison and you're not getting any trouble, and they remove your tattoos if you want them removed, because he did have a lot of them and he's getting them removed. And I know I'm a little early. I figured let me come on a little early. I told people 8:30. I just posted the video for tomorrow night. We'll be doing domestic violence tomorrow night with John and Josh. And we'll have an open panel. So if you want to come up and join, you're more than welcome. They would love it. At least you get to talk. You don't have to read like I do tonight. They're just I guess they're getting tired of hearing Marge reading all the questions. So they want to hear from people because, they're behind bars and they just get to talk to each other and me. Awesome. That's for me. What's for you, Nanny? Is Lauren okay? Yeah, Lauren's more than okay. She's having a good time today. Oh, well, first the kids weren't feeling good and she wasn't feeling good. The kids had a virus. And now Lauren's out having a good time today. She's good. And last night the kids had a show. I gave her some paid vacation. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Katie's in charge tonight. Katie, what are we doing next week? Are we taking off? Are we taking off Friday? I wonder. I got to ask Lauren. Lauren got fired. Yep. I wonder if I got to let Keith know. I haven't talked to her. Are we taking off Friday, I guess? The day after Christmas? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. Katie said it. Because I have to let Keith know. And this week, because we're doing 3 lives, like that's a lot this week. That's so stressful on me, especially if I have to read tonight. This is like, I'm so nervous about read. I hate to read. Look at me, I'm stressing over this. Oh my Lord, where's my daughter? She doesn't love me anymore. I'm not her favorite. Look at her, she bailed on me tonight. Katie must have got to her. Katie got to Christy. I wonder whose live is she in? She's catching up. She's over on, no, I don't know. I didn't see her in any lives. I didn't. I wonder where she is. Who wants it? This looked big. Lisa. Oh my God. And Katie wants she wants the straighteners. Katie wants to get all the straighteners here. She's in the rehiring process. Oh God, that's funny. I have to go get my hair done Saturday. This one's in your yawning, Katie. Do you hear? He's yawning. He could be a little less, He's yawning. From what? He doesn't do anything. He's tired from sitting. That's what I tell him. You're tired from doing nothing. I do it all and he gets tired. Lord help me. What else is new? What else? This case is going to be, I thought about it tonight. I didn't know we were going to be in the middle of this winter case. My dad says he's tired. Yeah, well, he did. I had to take him to the doctor, and he gets so tired from just going from the house to the car to the doctor's. It tires him out. And he gets confused. It's a sin. He really does. Wait. So I was telling him, like, about Todd's father, and they're going to be 80, because his dad's like, he goes, I'm almost 80. He said, pretty soon I got 2 more years. I'm like, do you know how to count? You're not going to be 80 in 2 years. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you need to go back to school. He's so funny. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't know where he got that, but he's not. He told me to get, oh my God, really? Oh, Katie, he asked me where the engraving thing is. I never ordered it. I told him that it takes really long to get here. I said, because we're ordering it from China. It takes like 3 months. But I didn't order it. He's not going to engrave my coffee table. Like, what am I going to do now? I'm getting nervous. What am I going to do? I'll have to say they discontinued it. Like, what? What am I going to tell him? I can't get him that. He'll be engraving the walls. Like the kids, well, my kids never wrote on the walls, but kids write on walls with crayon. He'll be engraving the walls, the coffee table. I tell him that. I'm like, my kids didn't do the stuff you do. I never had to clean up after my kids like I do him. Oh my God. I'm serious. Hey, Crystal. You're not allowed to quit. If you quit, I quit. You quit, I'm out of here. I retire. Oh, God. Kids are made different now. Yeah, well, I got a big kid in there. I'm telling you, Crystal, my kids didn't do what he did. I wake up in the morning, and it's like he had a whole party during the night. There's popcorn on the floor. There's pretzels on the floor. Christy never did that. My daughter and son never did that stuff. Him, it looks like there's a party in there because he has to have his popcorn at night. And I go to bed, everything's cleaned. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what the heck happened? I'm serious. It's so not fair. Then he says, why do you wake up miserable? Oh my God. He likes his little snacks at night, but they go in your mouth, not on the floor. Know what it is? He has a belly, and they lay on his stomach. Then he gets up for something, and it goes all over. But you think he picks them up? Nope, nope, not at all. I'm telling you, my grandson Vinny, my 30-year-old, says I'm gonna be up there. There's a special place up there for me. Crystal, absolutely. My grandson says there's a special place for you. At least he appreciates me. The girls now, Christy and my granddaughter, I don't know about them, but my grandson, that's my heart. Him and Jake. The girls, I don't know. They're different. Hey, James, how are you? Crystal, are you joining tomorrow night? Please. I'm good, James. Good. We're waiting for my co-host to call in. He'll be calling in. He'll be calling shortly. Wait, what number did I tell him to call? I'm looking at my phones. He's calling in on that phone. Yeah, I didn't tell him to call my main number. Oh, I sure will. I told him to call in from that number. How did you find me? Private pilot. Okay. My cousin's a pilot. You're still doing paperwork? Oh no. You're always working. Stephen messaged me this morning, Crystal. He texted me because of the Winter Wagner case. They were looking for drones. They had me text them the other night, Sunday night. We're looking for somebody closer. But of course, when they see Marge in the chat, they're like, that's Steven's friend. She could reach him. But he's 4 hours away. Steph Case File said that she has somebody a little closer. If we needed Steven, they would, contact him. But Steven said, he spoke to Steph also. Where they wanted to search for winter. There was a place they wanted to search, but they couldn't get to this place, so they needed drones. And this was Sunday night. We were all in a chat, and they were like they needed to get some drones up there. Hey, Linda. How are you? So, and this is both my accounts. I'm usually on during the day with MargeC. Yeah, Crystal, you might not know. Because Sunday we were in, was it Doors Live on Sunday? No, we were on A Mind of Monsters live. No, the Jones will work in the area. They were looking Sunday night that they needed, the only drones would work where they wanted to go. So they needed drones, but Steph Case File said she has a family that lives over there, and that has drones. They needed drones like that Steven has, those drones. And they know Steven has the drones, and Steven knows how to do this kind of work. So that's why. And somebody spotted me. I try to hide, but sometimes you can't hide. And so they already tried to call him, but he didn't answer them. So, but I spoke to him. Oh, okay. And so Steph Case Files, her cousin, somebody in her family is actually a mayor. But I don't know. I'm thinking, I don't know. We have thoughts all over the place. Maybe she's in Ohio now. Related, I think. Maybe they took her to Ohio. That's what some people are thinking. Who knows? Yeah, there's a lot of characters in this. It reminds me of the Rebecca Park case 2.0. Yeah. I'm thinking Ohio now. That's where I'm leaning towards. I don't know why. Lady Jane has me thinking different now, leaning towards Ohio. We've been on these lives day and night. Like we were on the live till 4 o'clock this morning, like 3:34. I have so many notes and hey, wait a minute. Oh no. It is 8:31. I hope Keith isn't having trouble calling in. Let me check the app. Oh, Crystal, we have new characters and look, I jumped. I'm like, what are you doing? You're late. Okay, here we go. This
is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from Keith Erickson.
Yes.
An incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for the... Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hey, Keith. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Hopefully the phone's going to be good tonight.
I know. I hope so. Mm-hmm. How was your day?
It was good. It's just busy.
You're always busy.
Yeah, I went through I did a lot of spring cleaning and downsizing stuff, throwing out a bunch of accumulated stuff that I had, so a big old box of stuff, paperwork, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, okay.
I just had so much stuff to downsize it, organize some stuff, and did some painting.
Yeah.
Did some homework, different kind of homework, not school homework, but other homework, other projects I'm working on.
Oh, okay. How is the coloring book coming along?
That's good. I got about 15, 20 regular inside sketches done, and then I started the cover. Cover's fin with a cowboy hat on and a cowboy scarf, like a little bandana around his neck.
I love it. So is that going to be on Amazon also?
Yeah. As soon as I got to buckle down and finish it.
Great.
Jamie's going to try to upload it on there. Go through all the uploading stuff the first time. So I don't know how easy or difficult it's going to be. So we usually have a publisher do it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I know last week we started on Trevor's story, and I got halfway through before the
the phone started acting up. So I'm going to go back to page 55 and start all over
On
at the beginning
Trevor's.
of Trevor's story because, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So just so
So this
everyone
one is
knows,
titled,
yeah, we are here with
Right.
my co-host Keith Erickson, and we are reading his book Trauma Unraveled. You can get the book on Amazon. The link is in my bio, right on my page in my link tree. Okay, Keith.
Okay. So we are back on page 55. This one is titled From Love to Trauma, and this young man's name is Trevor. I have always found Trevor to be a free spirit. When I met him in a peer leadership program I started at another facility, I did not know how many traumatic experiences he had lived through since childhood. When I asked him to share a story for this book, he did not hesitate. He asked if he could be honest, raw, and vulnerable. I told him it would be powerful to do so, and it was. When I read his story, my heart felt as if it had been kicked. Even with my own childhood traumas, you still find yourself relating to another person's suffering when their life is revealed to you the way he reveals his here. It is like watching a film unfold from one tragic event to another, and you cannot help but root for a hopeful ending. Trevor almost always has a smile on his face when I see him walking in the yard. It warms me to see that he refuses to let his past define where he wants to go. Weeks ago, I saw him playing keyboard in church. Music is a place of solace for him. I feel a genuine, sincere connection to this young man. Trevor's story.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
How old were you when you learned what love is? I was about 6. My grandmother gave me a dog, and that is how I learned to cherish that small emotion inside of me. I began to notice how different my life was when I started school. Jeffrey and Alex's parents dropped him off and picked him up. Dalton's mom packed his lunch. To me, all of that was strange. This was kindergarten, my first look at what life could look like for a child my age. Those parents cared. They were happy to see their kids at the end of the day. Their kids were not invisible to adults. That was foreign. Why did they deserve so much love and I did not? My earliest memories of my parents are 3 things: being too high to function, preparing to get high, doing whatever they had to do to score dope. I remember crawling into a room and seeing them slumped on the couch. Many times they left me in the car while they went into strange houses to steal. Electronics, jewelry, even children's bicycles. Whatever helped them score a fix, they took. The first time I learned to ride a bike, it was on a stolen bike. The first time my father was arrested was after a home invasion. I was left in the car across from the house in a Food for Less parking lot. They left me with the car radio to keep me distracted. I grew to love music for its power to take me places, yet I also developed anxiety tied to music in parked cars or out on the yard. Sitting and waiting gave me an acute awareness of time. I always needed to know the time and the day because everyone else's time belonged to them. That night, in the parking lot, I saw my parents run to the car as the police surrounded them. Because there was a toddler in the car, they arrested my father, but let my mother go. We drove away without him, and I did not see him for 2 nights. Eventually, my father went to prison for that robbery. 2 years without him were hard on my mother, but she kept custody of me. When he got out, it was still hard. He brought home stolen bikes and taught me to ride them, but I could not ride far. Someone might recognize the bike and call the police. The cycle lasted for years. My father stole, took the goods to a man who paid cash. Then he and my mother went to the pink house known as the dope spot. In the back seat, I watched them mix heroin in the spoon and take turns shooting up. They got it up for hours with music in my ears, then woke up to do it again. When we finally went home, my mother drank vodka and chain smoked until she passed out. The second time my father went to prison, we were in a high-speed chase. I stared out the back window at the police cars and wondered if we would be on the news. When we were caught and he was taken away in cuffs, my mother and I moved in with my grandparents. My grandfather hated my father and turned that hatred toward me. He was also racist. I was the Mexican bastard boy dropped into his family. He made sure I knew it. My grandmother was kind, but after raising 7 children with my mother as the youngest and me as the youngest grandchild, she was tired. As I grew older, I saw my mother for what she was, a bird who wanted freedom from anything that held her down. Having me so young was her curse. I was the anchor. I I do not remember her holding me or telling me she loved me. When my father went back to prison the second time, she spiraled. Without him, she sold her body. She turned tricks at all hours. One night, while she got high in the next room, a stranger molested me in the dark. For years, I believed she knew and even sold me for drugs. She later told me herself she did. My grandparents inherited me with resentment, and I was burned into their lives. The molestation haunted me. I never spoke about it until now. My father tried to stay in touch from prison through my grandparents, but it did not last. I lacked affection at my grandparents' house, and with the scars I already had, I turned to food for comfort. They did not abuse me or neglect me, but I carried a deep rage. At school, I fought, I killed animals, I set fires to watch things burn. Seeing kids hugged by their parents angered me. My grandparents tried sports, but I was too heavy and quit. Eventually, they stopped pushing me. My grandfather called me lazy and retarded. No one accounted for the pain I had already endured. I struggled socially. I felt like an outcast. I cannot remember an adult taking a real interest in me, asking how I was, or showing love. I chased attention anywhere I could get. That attention came from acting out, stealing, vandalism, whatever brought eyes to me. At 9, I started smoking weed with older kids. When they moved to meth, I followed at 12. At 14, I was a full-fledged addict. I left my grandparents to live with musician friends. I fell in love with heroin. I never had a real job. Punching a clock meant nothing to me. I sold drugs to support myself and my habit. I believed I was a modern troubadour who could go anywhere, anytime, with nothing to hold me back. Music still fascinated me. At 19, I moved to Texas to play bass in a friend's band. We played bars across the state. I fell in love for the first time outside of heroin. Her name was Brittany. She was a heroin user and overdosed next to me in a hotel bed. It was my first real loss besides my mother's suicide when I was younger. After that, I told myself, people come and go and there's nothing you can do. Waking up next to her lifeless body terrified me. I tried to stop using. I tried to join the military to change my life. They refused me for hearing issues, weight, and lack of education. I felt rejected again. I went back to what accepted me. I met a biker who cooked meth. I dove deeper. I was good at selling heroin and meth. I networked and used social media to find customers. I felt like a rock star. For years, I repeated my father's cycle, in and out of jail, probation. Nothing stopped me. That self-preservation caught up to me again. Her name was Larissa. I loved her. Her first love was Xanax. 3 months after I was arrested and convicted for the crime I am in prison for now, she fell asleep at the wheel and died in a car wreck. Another blow to whatever joy I had left. I used to dream of opening a business on a beach in Mexico. Larissa and me and our dog, K-Panda, living off the money we made selling drugs. That was my mindset. Today, it is different. I used to say I never hurt anyone. Selling drugs was just a way to make a living. People knew what they were getting into. I was justifying the harm I caused. Addiction often grows from trauma. I had no right to add to anyone's pain because I was in pain. I'm serving a 16-year sentence in California. When I finish, I will be extradited to Texas to face another 40 years. Life has caught up with me. Still, I have found my footing. I am at peace. I am doing the work to find redemption in the life I once thought was hopeless. The things that once tethered me, especially my upbringing, no longer define my present. I am stronger for it. More important, I know every action affects the lives around me. I will not grow callous to that again. Keith's reflection. I felt chills as I sat down the last page of Trevor's story. Every word carried vulnerability without reservation. It shows how behind a smile there could be a history of longing to give others the love you were denied. Like Trevor, I know what it is to want undeniable love and protection from a parent who chooses you every time. And like him, I know the self-defeat of expecting that same parent to keep you from harm. I sat in silence thinking about the little boy I never knew, yet somehow knew better than most. In so many ways, Trevor was me. The next story is titled, I Choose Redemption. And this young man's name is Daniel. If I had to describe this man in 2 words, I would say he possesses outlaw strength. In a 6-month life skills class with Daniel, I was lucky to share the room with this gifted individual. As a mentor, He poured energy, compassion, and kindness into every person he worked with. I knew right away he was someone special while on his way to healing where it was needed most. Over time, our friendship grew. I'm blessed to call him a friend and teammate in the rescue dog program, where he has shined from the start as a handler and trainer. Beyond the facts of his life, I found a resilience that refused to let the past chain him to old mistakes. Like me, Daniel works to lift others before himself, and everyone who knows him admires him. When he told me he was a pastor's son, I wanted to know more about the life that brought us to the same place, so I listened closely. Daniel's story. I am a pastor's kid. When people hear that, I am used to the flicker of disbelief in their eyes. You're a pastor's kid? No way. As a teenager, I took a strange pride in that reaction. It felt like proof that I was uniquely bad. You think you're tough? I'm a pastor's kid, and I'm bad. Today, I am not that teenager. When I look back, I do it with empathy and compassion because I walked in those shoes and I know how it felt to be there. It has been a long road. It hurts to know how much devastation I caused along the way. People say they have no regrets because everything made them who they are. I disagree. I regret many things because I hurt people and took a precious life that I can never get back. So how does a pastor's kid become a gang member, a murderer, and a violent criminal? I was born in South Korea on March 7th, 1988. My father preached in a small church where most of the congregation was deaf. I watched him sign with authority while people looked up at him. I knew early that I was different. Adults treated my brother and me with difference. We were linked to the pulpit and to my father's calling. We were an extension of his character and faith. As I grew older, I learned to hate that. We immigrated to America in 1994 when I was 6. My father took a position at a small church in Los Angeles. I remember the first day, bright, warm, loud, and full of possibility. I wish I could have bottled that moment. First grade gave me a dose of reality. I was mocked for not speaking English. I did not understand the words, but I understood the laughter and the...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I put my head down and stared at the ground where it felt safe. I'll call back.
Okay.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm joined with Keith Erickson, my friend and my co-host. We are reading Trauma Unraveled. We are on part 2. Hey, Parker. So we are just halfway through, almost, 3/4 of the way. We're on page 63 of 113 pages. Fingers crossed the phones keep working. Thank you, Paula.
You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be... Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
I once heard a doctor say that many incarcerated people are more sensitive than average. I scoffed. I thought I had been hardened by life, but when I returned to these memories, I realized I was sensitive. Pain, rejection, ignored, unwanted, those feelings seeped into me. I began to believe I did not belong. We moved a lot from Torrance to Bueno Park to Diamond Bar. I was a new kid over and over. From 1st through 5th grade, I had no real friends. The void opened inside me, and I was desperate to fill it. At home, my parents struggled to keep us stable. My father's pastoral salary was small. Both my parents worked other jobs. They shielded us as best they could, but the bubble did not always hold. I remember hiding in the apartment laundry room with my brother because we could not get inside and were afraid someone would take us. I remember my mother sobbing in the bedroom, inconsolable, and my father telling us she was sick. They had left everyone and everything in Korea. Asking for help felt like weakness. We built a small fortress around family and vowed to make it on our own. One day in Bueno Park, my father took us to a park. We sat in the car in silence. Then he said, "Your mom and I are going to separate." The world dropped out. I could not think or breathe. We cried and begged him not to leave. He came back home later and never mentioned it again, but the threat stayed. Powerlessness, insecurity, rejection, fear, and pain. That is the label I would put on the void inside me. I tried to fill it, but the more I tried, the hungrier it became. It swallowed things whole and left destruction behind. I got into my first fight in 5th grade at Evergreen Elementary in Diamond Bar. A classmate made fun of me at recess. I hit him. His face changed from goofy to shocked to hurt. He ran away crying. I learned 3 things. Hitting him made me feel good and release something. He stopped making fun of me. Other kids noticed me. That fight woke something up. Why violence? I think it is because violence was used on me. If you misbehaved, you got hit. It was culturally accepted. I saw teachers hit students. I was hit with open hands, closed fists, and sometimes a stick. So I learned to punish misbehavior by hitting. Fighting is not uncommon for kids. What was different for me was the payoff. Violence brought power, attention, and validation. I saw how it built my reputation. If people feared me, I did not even have to fight. A look could be enough. That power was intoxicating. I became obsessed with building it. The trouble at school and at home escalated. My parents were bewildered. They used what they knew, discipline and control. They did not know I was raging inside. I wanted power and control. The more they tried to control me, the more out of control I became to them, and the more in control I felt. I was suspended many times in middle school. In high school, I was expelled 3 times from 2 schools. My parents moved us to Fontana, 30 miles away. It felt like 30 million. I was the new kid again. My reputation was gone. I felt like a nobody. My anger grew. Small comments triggered explosive rages. I punched holes in walls with fists and feet. It is like you are possessed, my mother said. My parents tried to hold on, but the rope snapped. My life is not a measure of their parenting, but of how I responded to the world. My parents loved me and worked to give us a better life. They gave what they knew. As a pastor's kid, I felt pressure to fit a mold. Obedient, disciplined, peaceful, respectful. My father named me Pyonghwa, which means peace. It grieved them that I did not fit. I felt something was wrong with me, that I was bad. I embraced the bad and tried to be the best at it. I rebelled. At 17, I was jumped into a gang near Diamond Bar, where my former identity had lived. I wanted to plug back into power, attention, acceptance, and validation. I was not ready for what came next. I was a nobody in the gang.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I knew how to become somebody, violence. The first time I held a gun, I felt the weight in the cold steel. I knew it held life and death. I doubted myself, but the need for power and acceptance won. I looked for chances to put in work and prove myself. The pain that followed is something I will regret forever. Pain breeds more pain. Its ripples grow until you cannot recognize the original cause. Eric's parents got the call that their son was shot in the head. Shock and pain. The rush to the hospital with a thin hope he might live. Seeing him in a bed with tubes and a machine breathing for him. Prayers for a miracle as hours crawled by. Then the decision to let him go. Their pain began where his ended. His sister cries as reminders that he is gone. Birthdays, holidays, milestones, happy memories tainted with grief. She remembers his smile, the tilt of his head, the laughter that filled the room. Her grief is an ocean. I was arrested on December 12, 2006. The cycle kept going. As a new inmate in a concrete still, I was a nobody and I was scared. Violence lived in the air. I tried to hold on to the scraps of worth I had built, but the void inside me kept swallowing them. I sharpened a metal rod, driven by the need to control the world that was spinning. Violence, violence, violence. No matter where I went, I was a new kid, the reject, the weak one, the powerless one. I could not get away from it because it was inside me. I spiraled into hopelessness under the weight of consequences. In that broken place, I surrendered my life to Christ and began to heal. There's no excuse for what I did or for those I hurt. I chose it knowing it was wrong. There's no answer that can match the harm I caused. What I can say is this. I've stopped the cycle of pain causing more pain. I've changed how I think, especially about who I am. I'm learning to value others by valuing and accepting myself. I choose not to hurt, but to care and to love. Nothing erases the pain I caused, but I do not have to stay stuck in shame. I choose to live in a way that makes amends, helps those in need, and creates a positive impact where I stand. Maybe one day someone will say, he is a pastor's kid, and it will finally fit. Keith's reflection. Like Daniel, many of us choose a lifestyle we think we want, one that hides who we really are. Somewhere in childhood, our values shift toward all the wrong things. From there, we build a false self that others expect to see. Gang member, violent man, unemotional person, until the reflection in the mirror is a stranger. Daniel fell into that misconception, yet he chose a different life. Not about gangs, not about hurting others to hide his own wounds. In that choice, he found freedom of heart and soul long before his fight for physical freedom began. To know him is to hold a place in your heart that is cheering him toward the finish line ahead, into the life he now chooses to fulfill. This next story is titled Learning to Forgive. And this young man is MargeC. The unheard sounds of the housing units can be soothing. Too much quiet, though, feels like being buried beneath the surface of the universe. It can feel like your own thoughts are drowning you in darkness. I sit at this table as men shuffle past, shower doors crash open and shut, and the television blares in the distance. Over the years, I have struggled with the kind of silence that makes you think too much. Pages are scattered across the table. I read over the questions I wrote for a young man who will sit down to share a story with me. He already knows mine. Most people on the yard do, from self-help groups. I have known this young man for more than a year, and the fragments I know always lead me to wanting to hear the rest. I have a hard time seeing MargeC as a hardened criminal who took a life. Despite a sentence of life without the possibility of parole, he remains untouched by the ugliness incarceration can carve into a person. His demeanor is kind and compassionate. It stays with you. He is more than a friend. He is a little brother I never had, though he is young enough to be my son. As my neighbor, I keep him close so I can look after him. I want his heart focused on going home one day, no matter what a judge imposed. In my heart, I believe the ultimate judge will see what I see and set him free. We have eaten lunch together in this day room. We have studied for college classes. We have shared stories and dreams about life outside these stone walls. I have not seen him give up on himself. Will you tell me more about your story? I ask him. I will. Thank you for letting me do this, he says. He has mentored youth in our Youth Adult Awareness Program for a year now, and I am proud to watch his growth. MargeC's story. My name is MargeC Singh Outfall. I'm 27 years old, and I'm serving life without parole for shooting and taking a life during a robbery attempt. I was 21 the day of my crime. I had so much more I wanted to see and do. I was initially facing the death penalty. For reasons I still do not fully understand, I was shown mercy. I did not show my victim that day. Saying I have struggled with shame and self-forgiveness does not begin to cover it. I do not know when it started to go wrong. I'm trying to find out. If I can heal the way others say I can, I believe I will be able to help someone else. At the very least, I hope to forgive myself. MargeC means king in Punjab. I've not lived among my people for more than 2 decades, but I am proud of who I am and where I come from. The older I get, the more questions I bring to my grandmother. Her weekly visits give us time to talk about our family and our history. I lost my way as a teenager and broke the connection I had with my grandparents. I'm making up for the lost time. My 2 sisters are older than me and live what I consider successful lives. Success probably sounds shallow from here, but they did not make the mistakes that I did. That is success. One of my sisters has chosen not to have a relationship with me because of the crime. She believes even our mother should cut me off. From a distance, through pictures, I watch my nieces and nephews grow up without knowing me. I carry that pain quietly. It makes me feel unworthy of redemption some days. If my own family can write me off, what does that say about me? I'm trying to let God sort that out. The men I live around come from many backgrounds. I did not know I had anything in common with them until I truly got to know them. By that, I mean looking past prison codes and boundaries and seeing their humanity. My first 2 years in prison were the hardest mentally. Older prisoners told me how to act. I had never been locked up before. The politics felt like a foreign country where I did not speak the language. I was lost, watching every word and action. In here, what you say and do can decide your fate. Some men do not get it when they are young. They come for a few years, go home, and then return. The cycle repeats until they receive life. In a painful way, I am grateful I will not travel that road over and over. The thought of reliving the life I was living before I took a man's life turns my stomach. I grew up differently from many of my peers, yet here we are all in the same place. What matters is what we do now. I was born in the United States. As an infant, my parents sent...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Until I was 5. I later learned they sent us to India because of marital problems. My father believed my mother should be submissive. My mother was not. She was determined to finish school and earn a degree. He taunted her and tried to discourage her. She stayed resilient and became a registered nurse. I admired my father. He was my hero. In my culture, I was taught ideas at such a young age that I would not have recognized mental, emotional, or physical abuse, even if I saw it. I thought it was acceptable for my father to be cold to my mother. Then he raped her in front of me. Alarms went off inside me. That is not how a man treats his wife. Much of what I felt from my father died that day. Our relationship never recovered. My parents provided for us. We wanted for nothing. We were taught that hard work brings what life offers. My mother was a nurturer. My father was not. Their marriage was arranged. Love took a backseat to practice. Education was everything. I earned straight A's through middle school. As a freshman in high school, my view of the world changed. My father began cheating on my mother, spending money on a woman who used him, and letting his salon collapse. He lost his way. At 14, officers came to our door as we were getting ready for school. They told us my father was found hanging in his shop. My mother and sisters screamed. I stood in shock. The man I called father took his own life and left behind a son who was not yet a man. He had taught me never to cry and to be strong. I did not cry that morning. I felt that crying would dishonor him. I held my mother and sisters while they cried in my arms. Everyone knowing that my father died by suicide was hard then, it still is, and hard now. I worried people would judge me for his choice. I am not my father, yet I am his son. I once left...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I later learned can break. I still wonder how much of him I inherited. I'll call back.
Okay. Thank you for joining. I know, George, it is. It is. And we're reading Trauma Unraveled with my co-host. Oh, no. Trauma Unraveled. I had to do the puzzle piece. Some of these stories, it's so sad.
You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say, "Thank you for using Global Tel Link."
Days after his death, my uncle took us to the morgue. My father lay cold on a metal slab. My sister sobbed. I still could not cry. I clenched my fists until my nails dug into my palms. Fear boiled in me. I imagined him reaching up, grabbing my throat, and taking me with him. Weeks earlier, after a big argument, he told my mother, "Armitage will be nothing but a drug addict and a failure." Hearing those words from my mother's lips made me resent him more. I had watched him treat my mother like a footstool. I had watched him spend money on the woman who used him. I had watched him give up because he could not live with what he had done. The man I once wanted to become, I refused to be. Drugs became my way to avoid feeling the shame that followed me. I left my father, but seeing him on that table still haunts me. I was under the influence of that took a life. My cousin and I went to the convenience store we knew and tried to rob the clerk. In seconds, everything changed. I fired to scare him. The bullet ricocheted off the counter and killed him. My addiction was a key part of everything that led to that moment. Within days, we were arrested and booked for murder. As the drugs left my system, my mind cleared. I understood I could face a death penalty at the end of the felony murder rule. I stared at the ceiling in my cell and asked myself how this happened. I let my family down. I let my mother down the way my father had. Maybe I had inherited more from him than I wanted to admit. Losing my father did not start on the day he died. I lost him long before that. I watched him destroy himself. I watched him cheat and harm my mother. I did not deal with that trauma. I turned to drugs and crime. If I could tell him one thing, I would say I'm sorry for giving up on myself. I could not save him. I could have tried harder to save me. For the past year and a half, I have attended self-help groups. I am enrolled in college. I completed the substance abuse program here. Every small success brings me a step closer to self-forgiveness. I am learning to love myself. By addressing my trauma, I am stronger than I have been since I was a boy. That is what I ask for, to be free of pain and suffering. Keith's reflection. We sat together after he finished. I felt a strong sense of pride. I have mentored this young man since he first approached me in a self-help group. Early on, I feared he would adopt the mindset I have seen in some men sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, the belief that hope is pointless. He has proven otherwise. No matter the uncertainty, he refuses to quit. I have seen resilience at work, but not like this. For him, prison became a second chance. He has matured in ways that are undeniable. More important, he chose to live by moral principles far from the dark pool of prison politics. He told me once that freedom for him did not lie outside the gates and fences. It had to be found within his heart first. I could not deny the wisdom in that. I believe his freedom will come as healing continues to take root. His attitude will not allow him anything less. This next story is titled In God's Eyes. This young man's name is Francisco. Some people carry the markings of trauma across their face. Francisco is one of them. He is a man of expression, easily read by others. We met in the Second Chance Canine program, and I've gotten to know him better than most. I mentor him beyond dog handling and training. Our friendship is rooted in trust. He often comes to me when something heavy rests on his heart. In here, sharing can be dangerous, since what you reveal can be used to hurt you. So when someone trusts you, it is a privilege. When I asked him to share what his life has been, he was reluctant. In time, he saw that he could take back control of the story he once handed over to hopelessness. He rose to the moment and stepped forward. When I read his passage pages, it felt like we walked together into the next chapter of his life, a chapter of healing that I believe will give him some peace. Francisco's story. I was born in Tijuana, Mexico. At 1.5, I was brought to the United States with my siblings. We had nowhere to live. We slept in a church in Watts, Los Angeles County. To shower and play, my mother took us to Azusa Canyon and back to the church at night to sleep on the floor. My mother says those canyon days gave us a small sense of normal and hope. She wanted a better life for us than what...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It was harder than she had expected. Crossing illegally made work even harder to find. We moved from place to place, at times homeless or staying in a relative's garage, never sure where the next meal would come from. I remember helping my mother collect cans. My siblings and I jumped into dumpsters and tossed cans out to her. My father was around, but he was a heroin addict who spent more time chasing his next fix than taking care of us. He and my mother were toxic together. They fought constantly. He was often in jail while she tried to feed and shelter us. My mother's English was poor. She tried to teach me even though she struggled herself. When I stumbled, she would yank my ear or slap the back of my head and call me stupid. From kindergarten through 3rd grade, I bounced through 6 elementary schools. There was no stability except my mother's steady reassurance that God would help us in time. That promise gave me hope. I believe God saw us and would not forget us. We lived in low-income neighborhoods where gunshots were normal at night. Gangs fought over streets and drug corners. We feared immigration raids. People whispered about the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, who was assaulting women. We 4 boys ran the streets but stayed together. My brothers beat me up a lot. I was slow, not good at much. My self-esteem fell apart. I tried to stay out of the way, which only made me a target. I did not like to fight, and I did not defend myself. By 8, I had seen things no child should see. Drive-by shootings, fights with machetes, people shooting heroin like it's nothing. Lines outside the methadone clinic every morning. Sometimes my father was in that line while we sat in the car. The smell of heroin never left me. Even now, the smell of vinegar takes me back. I once saw someone raped. I hid my face in a pillow and could not do nothing. I had no positive male role model. Men around me hurt themselves and others without consequence. In our family, men beating women was treated like a machismo thing. People looked away. I never learned the value of a woman in a healthy way. When my sisters were born, I hoped things would change. I hoped my parents' relationship would change too. It did not. It only brought 2 more beautiful lives into a hard world. Still, we kept going, believing God would not give us more than we could bear. By 7th and 8th grade, I was deeply depressed. I thought about suicide. I felt like no one understood or cared. My mother got consumed by church. We were left on our own. Cooking and cleaning fell to me and my sisters while my 3 brothers ran the streets. I tried to care for my baby sisters, but it was a lot for a 14-year-old who already felt so worthless. I started following my brothers and the neighborhood kids. I stole from stores, broke into houses, and first landed in juvenile hall at 15. After that, I was in and out, each day longer than the last. I learned fast that in juvenile hall, you either fight or you get victimized. A bigger kid from the California authorities was put into my cell and tried to rape me. I thought of the assault I had witnessed as a boy and refused to let it happen to me, so I fought. I learned that fighting kept the worst people away. I used violence to survive and to hide the scared little boy who never learned how to be a man. At 18, I went to the California Department of Corrections for second-degree robbery. I became a gang member and sank deep into drinking and drugs after my first term. From 18 to 23, I cycled in and out for petty crimes. At 23, everything changed. I landed in a 15 by 15 cement box for life, sentenced under California's felony murder rule. I still ask how my life ended up like this. I was convicted of firearm possession, kidnapping, carjacking, and murder. I became callous to the life of another human being. No sentence can erase that shame. I promised myself I would be courageous about my trauma and that accountability would matter now more than ever. During my case and trial, I refused to admit what I had done. I refused to be a man and accept responsibility. Today, for the first time, I am admitting it. My chest tightens, my heart races, and heat runs through me as I write this. It is part of healing. If I do not face this now, I may never find the courage to begin. It was a routine night. I came home from work and saw a car outside my apartment. The people in it were not strangers. I owed them money. They had come to collect. They were high on meth and armed. I told them I did not have it. I considered running, but they knew where I lived. Options were few. I offered to rob someone to pay them back. They agreed to drive. What felt like a simple plan turned into tragedy. We drove around. Tension grew in the car. We spotted a man driving. We followed until he stopped. One of the guys jumped out with a gun and grabbed him at the light. Pulled him into the car. The robbery became a kidnapping. I tried to calm him, telling him we were only going to rob him. It was a lie. After driving around for what felt like hours, we took him to a park and shot him. Later, I lay in bed crying in my girlfriend's arms. The moment I pulled the trigger, I was haunted. I did not see the others again until court. I was a coward for what I did. I do not expect my victim's family to ever forgive me. Life without the possibility of parole was impossible to accept at first. I knew I had taken a life, but part of me refused to accept that I deserved to grow old and die in prison. Depression took root and spread. I thought of ending my life more than once, but I did not have the courage for that either. What kept me going was remorse and the fact that I was tired of the darkness. Feeling sorry for myself became a heavier and heavier load. I chose to honor my victim and those I hurt by making amends, which meant facing my demons. I still struggle with depression at times. The difference now is that I ask for help. I am a dog handler and trainer in the dog rescue program. It taught me to put my energy into someone besides myself. Many of our dogs come from shelters with their own trauma. Helping them heal by simply loving them changed me. I started to love myself again. Finding them forever home feels like saving more than one life. When the old emotions surge, I remind myself that I can live in my past and walk towards my future. wherever that future is. Keeps reflecting. I know that child. I know what it is like to feel like you do not belong, to grow up in places that leave little room for success. Francisco's story hits close to home. Like him, I've battled depression that pushed me towards self-destruction and anger at anyone who tried to help. The more time I spend with this man, the more I see what inspires me. I watch him care for others, not just for the rescue dogs in our care. I see that his healing has begun, that realization humbles me. I am lucky to walk beside another brother on the road to redemption. This next story is titled The Consumption of Childhood Fear. And this young man is Tommy, Mr. Tommy Trauber. Watching a man be set free after more than 20 years leaves you with a sense of hope. As a lifer of 30 years, that hope is familiar and bittersweet. Tommy was found suitable by the California Parole Board a few days ago. He is the 8th person this year from this yard who will walk out free. Life can change for those who have suffered and those who have caused suffering. Tommy is another living testimony. Seeing him internalize what healing requires over these last 6 years has taught me not to quit the race. No matter how hard things seem, there is light beyond the darkness. Tommy was convicted under the California murder rule for a burglary that turned fatal 2 decades ago. Like so many of us, he has traveled the road to redemption. He found his way. Watching him leave the housing unit for the last time will bring a temporary loan.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Another friend and brother stepping through these gates. I hope and pray my time comes. Until then, I am blessed to have grown alongside him. We sit together in the facility education building. This will be the last time Tommy revisits his past from inside a prison. Freedom is days away. For many of us lifers who are waiting, he is a reminder to stay resilient in the face of adversity. He fought hard for this and even harder for inner peace. Tommy's story. This past week, I was found suitable for parole by the California Parole Board. After more than 22 years of incarceration, it still feels like a dream that a new life is at my doorstep. The morning after my hearing, I woke up with my eyes wide open and sat up in bed with a different perspective. For years, I have done the same routine. Wake at 5, slip into sandals to avoid the cold concrete, touch the rosary beads hanging from my wall. It was still dark outside. Through the narrow window at the back of my cell, I could see a hint of light. A dim orange.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'll call back.
Okay. I know the sound got low. I was trying to, I messaged so it would get a little bit louder. I think it was the phones. Hopefully it stays okay. This is Tommy, our Tommy. The story that everyone knows Tommy. We are on page 81 of 113.
You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
It was still dark outside. Through the narrow window at the back of my cell, I could see a hint of light. A dim orange glow came from under the door as I began another day that will soon be part of my past. I am not the same boy who came to prison at 18. I have grown in more ways than I thought possible. To think that my life has become what it has is something special. That gives another person hope. Hope for healing, hope for redemption, hope that they too can find freedom from their past and from the trauma that once kept them powerless. My name is Tommy. I'm a survivor of childhood trauma. My story is not unique, yet it is personal in the way that it shaped my life and how I treated others. I never imagined I would make it this far, long enough to want to fight for my freedom, but I have. I remember the event that changed my childhood. I grew up in a 2-parent home as the middle child between an older sister and a younger brother. Both my parents worked multiple jobs and were gone a lot. My sister watched my brother Billy and me, and she did a good job. Still, one event would change everything. Billy and I shared a bedroom. He was my best friend. We did everything together. We dreamed about becoming wrestling partners and traveling the world. I felt safest with Billy, and he looked up to me. One night, while I was half asleep, I heard an unfamiliar noise. A shadow came through the window where a swamp cooler usually sat. Someone had removed it and was crawling into our bedroom. I lay in the bottom bunk, paralyzed. The figure, now visible as a man, reached toward the top bunk where Billy lay wrapped in his blanket. I felt a fear I had never known. I could not move or scream. Struggling noises filled the room as Billy fought. The stranger's breathing grew louder as he tried to overpower my brother. Billy finally screamed for help. The intruder fled out the same window. I still could not move. I do not remember much after that, but I remember how my relationship with Billy changed. I knew what I felt that night, the fear and the shame of not helping him sink deep. We drifted apart. I felt I had let him down. What kind of tag team partner does not come to his brother's or his partner's aid? I carried that for years. Life at home looked normal from the outside. Inside, a lot changed. The swamp cooler was removed, windows were locked, our beds were separated. Our door stayed open at night so our parents could hear us if we screamed. I was different. I feared strangers. I saw things that were not there. The shame of not helping Billy weighed on me. My father made it worse by putting on Halloween masks to scare us and calling us sissies if we flinched. He was brave and we wanted to be like him. He never said he was disappointed in me, but I felt like a coward. I wondered if he could ever be proud of me, if Billy could ever trust me, if they could love me the same. Billy and I began to argue and fight. We avoided each other. I stopped trying to be there for him, not realizing it was my own insecurity pushing him away. Seeing him reminded me of how weak I felt that night. I became the class clown and the schoolyard daredevil. I did whatever others challenged me to do. I craved recognition to cover my insecurity. My first real criminal act happened at a toy store with older cousins who called me a chicken for refusing to steal. I hated being called scared. I shoved an action figure in my pants and walked out. Later, I felt guilt and shame. My father taught us there's nothing worse than a thief who will not work for what he wants. My cousins praised me, but I had betrayed a core value. It was the first of many compromises. I became so motivated to be accepted that I lived at the mercy of other people's opinions. I lacked healthy social skills and avoided people who might have influenced me for the better. As I got older, trying to fit in pushed me deeper into criminal life. At 15, I was sentenced to the California Authority. I fought, disrespected staff, and acted like I did not care. At 17, another teen and I committed a crime that took the life of an innocent person. During a burglary, things went bad. My co-conspirator shot and killed the homeowner. I was not inside the house, but I was charged with murder and sentenced to life in prison. Entering the adult system, I became driven to prove myself. I addressed my fear by doing things I thought would give me recognition and control. If I could pull that off, I believe no one would see I was a scared boy pretending to be tough. Many incarcerated men are driven by the same fear. I compromised what I knew was right and wrong. The gang became my family. Its codes became my behavior. I convinced myself I would die in prison and bury the...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I did not consider my early trauma while becoming the man I was. I never saw myself as a victim when Billy was almost abducted. I did not believe I was suffering the way I assumed trauma victims do. In time, I began to see that many of my defects came from childhood. That truth only became visible when I left gangs and criminality behind. The hardest thing was facing reality. I reached a point where I could not sit in the vision room and lie to my mother about my life. Violence, manipulation, and deception had made me unrecognizable. The day she visited and saw I had been assaulted for leaving the gang was the day I made the most courageous decision of my life. I promised her I would fight for our family and come home. I took off the mask and began to address my life. The hardest moments in my rehabilitation were not just acknowledging the harm I caused, but owning the lies, the cheating, the theft, and the manipulation of people I claimed to love. I was responsible, along with my co-conspirator, for taking her life. The weight of it felt like an anchor. Some days I felt worthless. Other days I felt strong enough to keep going because of the love and support of my family, my wife, and friends in here who understood. Along the way, I met men who were more like me than I could have imagined. Trauma ripples through lives and often goes unspoken because we believe time alone will heal us. It will not. What does not kill you makes you stronger is a poor approach to healing. This week I sat before the parole board after decades inside. My life, which I had once thrown away, was in their hands. I had done the work, but doubt still swam in me. I feared their perception would not move past my old choices. When they found me suitable, I sobbed and gathered myself enough to thank them. Walking back to the yard felt like walking on clouds. I went straight to see the chaplain who had prayed with me before the hearing. I had reached the finish line of a fight I had waged for years. Now I wait for the paperwork to run its course over the next 4 months before I'm physically free and back in the community, determined to be a productive member of society for the first time in my life. Today I understand the impact of my actions and the impact of events that shape my behavior. Fates in my childhood required deep honesty. I hated being honest about my insecurities, but when I finally was, the trauma had lost its power. Healing began. If you have been harmed, it is not your fault. It is normal to fear it could happen again. It is also your duty to deal with the issues that start causing more harm with no end in sight. I once believed I was a coward for not protecting Billy. I lived my life determined never to feel that again. No boy should ever carry that weight. If he does, it should be addressed as soon as possible. We deserve to feel secure as we grow into who we are as children and as adults. I am determined to make amends to Billy and to my family. They loved me through my worst. I will repay them by living my amends. I will walk out having learned what I need to heal. Incarceration made it unavoidable to face myself. There is a lot of life ahead. I intend to live it with the character the world deserves from me. Peace reflection. On March 13, 2024, I watched a man who became my brother walk out of prison for what I knew would be the last time. The moment was bittersweet. We shared years of growth and healing, talking through our childhood traumas, and more conversations than I can count. As selfish as it sounds, I hated losing his presence. It felt like a part of me walked out when I stood at my door and watched him leave with a small envelope in his hand. Yet I also felt a sense of freedom that no one gave me. In prison, where a man's character can be deceptive, I found the opposite with Tommy. His friendship felt safe. There was a place I could turn when I lacked the strength to face another day. He is gone physically. He left me with hope for what is to come. One day, sooner than later, one of us will pick up this book and read this aloud to the other. We will look at each other and know that life did not give only one of us a second chance. It gave both of us one. Until then, I will keep returning to what I found in him that I never expected here. A true friendship that is honest and does not harm. This next story is titled Learning to Walk a Different Road, and this young man's name is Carlos. I watched this young man enter the facility a few months back as he crossed the yard carrying all his property. Distinct markings, much like my own facial tattoos, gave me an early sense that he had traveled a road similar to mine. I am drawn to men like this for many reasons, and that day I felt compelled to approach him when I could. I mentored many men on the facility, a calling that began when I learned to release it. Shattered past, and with each new relationship, I believe it is my duty to help them rediscover who they are. None of these men were born to harm others or destroy their own lives. They were born to learn what it means to be human and to show compassion. His facial tattoos might fool others, but I knew what rested behind them. Carlos needed something that men like me could offer. He needed more than a familiar face. He needed a familiar soul that had once been lost and found its way back. We eventually spoke, shared our near carbon stories during a workshop I invited him to attend, and since then I have watched him grow in the months he has been here on the yard. Carlos's story. For years I hid my true self from the world because I was afraid of being seen for who God made me to be. As a gang member, an identity I picked.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I believed that hiding was necessary. I thought I could project an image that others would accept, and all the insecurities I developed growing up would stay tucked away. That identity consumed me more than I understood. It left me trapped in a life I would not wish on anyone. I'm 32 and I've been incarcerated since I was 23 for a gang-related crime that left an innocent man paralyzed from the waist down. I never stopped to consider the impact my actions had on anyone besides me, including the community and the people I victimized. I grew up in a single-parent household. My mother worked long hours to pay the bills, keep a roof over my head, and support me the best she knew how. I did not see my upbringing as broken. I thought I was lucky to be home alone with no one to answer to. Without supervision and direction, I later learned I lacked the guidance healthy homes provide. No father in the house left me trying to fill shoes no child can wear. So I looked elsewhere for direction while my mother worked. My family had no gang ties. I was not taught to commit crimes or use drugs. Yet, I still got pulled toward those influences because I needed the mental and emotional guidance fathers often give. I invest all the time what drew me to the gang subculture. A few years ago, before I walked away, I would not have the courage to be fully honest. Now I do. Without a father at home, I felt I had to be the man of the house while my mom worked. Like many boys, I needed a male role model to help shape my character. I saw kids with both parents and felt like an outsider who wanted what they had. Their fathers seemed to hold things together. I resented that and admired it at the same time. Unity attracted me to the gang. I felt accepted, even though the acceptance had conditions. If I did not uphold the ideology, I was out. Those close friends will turn on me faster than anyone else. I learned that the hard way. I saw levels of violence I never anticipated. I do not think most kids join a gang eager to harm others. I wanted the perks like respect and power without counting the cost. The first time I was jumped in, the first time a gun was placed in my hand, and the first time I shot at someone were all traumatic experiences. I accepted that trauma as a price for belonging. Over time, I became more accepting of harm even to myself, as if it were normal. After committing the crime that brought me here, a new set of needs surfaced. I wanted approval so badly that I would do anything to please people around me. Prison was a wake-up call. I had spent years building a reputation, but once I walked through the gates, I was just another number. At every turn, I had to prove myself to people who did not care about me. I was a little more addition to a cycle of violence fueled by trauma. Most of us in this life have suffered trauma that makes it easier to believe there's no other way. I've been in 3 prison riots. The trauma stays with you long after the alarms go quiet. I have seen men fight for their lives after brutal assaults. There is nothing more disheartening than wanting to help and knowing you cannot. I did not sign up for this, yet I kept sacrificing myself to be accepted. 2 years ago, I found the courage to walk away from the gang, and the healing I had put off for years finally began. Since then, I have rediscovered who I am. I did not have what I wanted as a child, but I'm learning.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'll call back.
Okay. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everyone. So we are reading Trauma Unraveled with Keith Erickson, my co-host. That was Tommy's story. We know some of these guys, not all of them.
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged, but thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Since then, I have rediscovered who I am. I did not have what I wanted as a child, but I am learning to love myself anyway. My mother worked to be both mother and father. The value in that is priceless. She made sacrifices to keep me safe, and I ran the streets where trauma awaited. I bought into the lie that hurting others was a way to protect myself. That was cowardice. Today, I am becoming the kind of man my mother is proud of. Nothing feels better than that. Keith's reflection. It is common to see a man struggle with change in here. Carlos arrived fresh from the gang life. He had recently cut ties with the group he had given so much to, and change became his hardest journey. I met him in our Youth Adult Awareness Program. His hunger for redemption was undeniable. He wanted what many of us want, no matter the path we took, validation. I kept telling him it comes with patience. We had many conversations about being true to himself and letting go of what others think. I knew that chase. He poured his heart into the youth who came to our YAP tours, sharing his story with teens headed down the same risky roads we took. He is not a lifer, but he carried a lifetime of trauma that once kept him trapped. Since sharing his story, Carlos has been released for nearly a year and is building a steady life outside the afflictions that once ruled him. Watching that arc gives the rest of us a reason to keep going. This next story is titled My Place All Along, and this man's name is Stephen. Oftentimes I sit on this bench and watch the yard unfold around me. Even after 35 years in prison, I still imagine how these men would move through a day if they had their freedom. Some play sports, others walk the track or talk with friends. It is a world within a world where time can feel like it stands still. Today, the sun warms my face and shoulders. Laughter and small talk drift by. I let myself picture a public park without the parks that make this place a prison. As I wait for a close friend, a man I love like a brother, I take a minute to notice what is here. Every conversation and every small kindness matters more than most people know. Prison can be a pause on the way to what might be if a person wants it. Stephen is one of the men I have watched grow. He reminds me that even when you are loved, you can lose sight of your place in the world. In the end, you have to learn to love yourself too. Stephen's story. My name is Stephen. I am 53 years old, raised in Rosemead, California. I have been incarcerated 21 years for the attempted murders of 2 men. When I first thought about trauma, I did not want to call myself a victim. I had heard men in groups describe childhood abuse, parents involved with gangs and drugs, and I felt like my issues did not compare. After years of soul searching, I see that I am no different from the men in those rooms. Pain is pain, and trauma is trauma. When I was 13, I found out I was adopted. I discovered it by flipping through one of my parents' photo albums. I wish I could say I handled it well. I did not. I felt betrayed and alone. I wondered what else they were hiding. I did not cry. I just felt irrelevant. What I could not see at 13 was that my parents loved me deeply. They gave me safety, stability, and strong family values. My father taught me sports, integrity, and putting family first. My mother modeled selflessness. She gathered our outgrown clothes and took them to relatives in her hometown of Obregon each year. We did not have much, but we never went without. I grew up with my older sister Annette and my younger brother Gabe. We shared chores and looked out for each other. My Uncle Junior lived across the street, so it felt like we had 2 homes. There were pools, camping trips, church, and family baseball games. I knew gangs were in the neighborhood, but home kept me grounded. The truth is that learning I was adopted shook me. At 13, I decided my parents had lied, and I wanted to hurt them back by rejecting their rules. I started running the streets. I told myself my friends accepted me with no questions. I told myself my parents only kept me out of duty. That is how a boy thinks. My behavior changed fast. I turned toward drugs and gangs. Both felt like rebellion, and both were escape. I knew right from wrong. My problem was one in shortcuts. I told myself I could be a gang member, sell drugs, and still be a good provider for my family. I told myself everyone who lived this life understood the risk. If getting shot or arrested was the price, so be it. When I stormed into the home of 2 dealers who owed me money and fired at them.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
When I was arrested, my only worry was what would happen to me. I felt no remorse. I justified everything by the code I lived by. They chose the life, same as me. Before my crime, I had a chance to mend things with my father. He was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, and I stepped away from the streets to be with him. Watching the disease take him was the hardest thing I had ever faced. I carried shame for how I had treated him and my mother. He never threw it in my face, but I felt it. Years later, my mother died while I was incarcerated. The guilt grew heavier. I sometimes wonder how life would look if I had not walked out on them as a teenager. They loved me as only parents can, and I did not see it until I was locked in the cell. More than 10 years into my sentence, I learned that Alex, a young man I had known as my nephew, was actually my son. His mother, Mindy, who had stayed close with my mother after I came to prison, became very ill with liver failure. She told my mother the truth before she passed. I decided whether to tell Alex, who was 21, and prepared to deploy to Afghanistan. I remembered the day I found that pro album. I did not want to cause him harm when he needed focus and strength. After days of little sleep, I wrote him the hardest letter of my life. I told him the truth, and I asked him to give his brother and sister a chance to know him. I told him I would honor his choice, even if he wanted no contact with me. He did not push me away. In the months that followed, he began to talk with Gabrielle and Stephen Jr. Today, they are close. They did that on their own, and I'm grateful. Alex and his wife had a son, Santiago, in time to make my mother a grandmother before she passed. I am thankful Alex did not respond like I did at 13. He stayed open. Retracing my steps, I see how that first wound at 13 shaped my choices. I'm not going to say I have conquered my trauma. I still revisit the past, and some days I wish I could change it. But the hard parts taught me the value of my parents' love, my own worth, and how to be a better man and father. I do not have it all figured out, and I am fine with that. My mother died on January 21st, 2023. I was not at her bedside. That was on me and my choices. Grief hit like a storm. People say mourning helps you go on, but some days it still feels unfinished. Even so, I hold no resentment toward either of my parents. What kept me going here were men I call my brothers, not gang ties, real brothers. Men who sit with you in the hurt. They stood by me from the start, and I wish the world could see them the way I do. They were the stepping stones that carried me to now. If I could tell the world one thing about me and the men in here, it is this. There is something beautiful beneath the trauma. I was so lost I could not accept the love that gave me a place in this world. When I see other men struggle to forgive themselves, I understand. Their worst act is not the whole of who they are. It is my duty to help them find their way back, just as others had helped me. Keith's reflection. That night, as I sat in my cell and looked at the photos on my wall, my wife and my daughter smiling back at me, I thought about Stephen's story. I thought about the years I spent drifting from one place to another, hungry for purpose. I looked at the faces of Kaylani and Mia, my two stepdaughters, caught in mid-laughter, and I felt steady again. Those pictures give me a destination. My wife and I are learning our small world together. I want them to know they belong. I want them to feel chosen. Stephen's parents chose him and loved him. In return, gave them a life that allowed their love to work. That is what I want for my family, too. Okay, so on the last two stories, MargeC, I don't know if you remember me telling you, but I don't have the last two stories in my author's copy of the book, but you do have them in your book.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to have to read the last two. It's only about 7 or 8 pages. But it starts on page, I want to say 96. It starts with Jay's story. I still don't know what love is.
Oh, okay. So Jay's story.
You got it? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Jay's story. I didn't read this. Oh, I thought Jamie wanted it. Oh, never mind. I thought it was something Jamie texted me. Okay, I still don't know what love is. Yeah, I just got a text, but she's right there. Jay, Keith's introduction. Friendships are nearly impossible in prison for most people. That is, Jay, however, was one of the first individuals who showed me that it was okay to trust in others despite the uneasiness of putting faith in others. I arrived at Pleasant Valley State Prison nearly 7 years ago, and Jay became a part of my everyday interactions that brought me a sense of restoration, faith in the men around me, particularly those I knew little to nothing about. For years, I have watched him grow, both mentally and emotionally. Together we now embark on 2 personal journeys of working with service and rescue dogs here in the prison dog program. I have learned something valuable from this man, something that I had initially taken for granted, which was strength comes when expected. After sitting down with Jay, I realized that was the reason he was brought into my life, to encourage me to share the last painful chapter of my childhood. I have been hiding from Jay's story. I believed I was nudged. I needed to fully stop looking over my shoulder. Jay's story. I actually grew into trauma. My mother was pregnant with me. I fell over a beach ball. Her injury caused internal bleeding to the point where I was drowning in her blood while she was carrying me. My biological parents divorced when I was 3. It was a time where my mother met and remarried my stepfather. My father would end up having 3 other children, my sister and with another woman, while my mother conceived my 4th sister. At the age of 8, I was remembered to this day sitting at the kitchen table helping my mother package and seal dusters, which were PCP cigarettes. She would sell to the local street gangs in our neighborhood. I sat there, just a small boy, unaware of the fact that I was doing something dangerous and harmful to another human being, using a cloth and iron to press the baggie shut. I was happy just to be doing something with my mother, despite having fond memories in between.
This call and
There was a lot of
will be
dysfunction
monitored
and neglect
recorded.
that took place in her home. I was just too young to understand how it was and would affect me in the long run. My stepfather was no angel either, by no means. There were countless times where his anger and violence would get the best of him. Usually these episodes were drugs and alcohol induced. The first time I saw my stepfather nearly beat another man to death was the day he fled into the house with blood all over his hands and arms and stained down in the front of his shirt. He had beaten the neighbor, someone who owed him money, and nearly killed him, and I could feel my body tremble as I stood there staring at him, afraid of what he would do to me, what he had done to the man next door. PCP was a powerful hallucinogenic that brought out the extraordinary worst in someone. I discovered this when I watched 12 officers fighting with all they had to bring my stepfather to the ground and handcuffed him. I found myself having to grow up in a way that I was mentally unable to. Although I found myself doing what I considered grown-up
You have 60
things,
seconds remaining.
I also realized now that I was always nervous and afraid of my home, as if I had a moment a bomb could just go off. My mother could care for us physically, however, she failed to provide a safe environment mentally and emotionally where it counted the most. My mother was also very slick, someone I also lived a double life, easily concealing one word from the other. The soccer mom who would be at all sporting events and yet selling rugs in all neighborhood and earn her money. The downside was that my mother had a little to no coping skills when it came to dealing with pressure and responsibility of everyday life. Looking back now, it was the crazy thing I learned as a small boy in an environment. When I was a 10-year-old boy, no, 1 second, I'm gonna have to answer that. When I was a 10 years old boy, known to how to interact, the PCP with warm milk, something in a mist into the home for sure. Where I did find refuge was at school. 1 second.
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
There you go. Okay. Although I consider myself socially awkward and slow to make friends quickly, I gravitate towards my education and excel academically. What many kids struggle with in the classroom, I found to be naturally easy. I was in a special advanced program in elementary school, and this was something that I really enjoyed because it took me on field trips to places I found enjoyable as a kid. My sister and I were left alone quite often, something that took me years to start talking about was the fact that my sister had sexually molested me as a boy. At the time, I had no idea what to feel or to think. I had never hated my sister for what she had done to me, or to be honest, I felt that she was just too much of a victim as I was at that time. It was not going to be the last time someone would molest me either. To this day, although my sister has apologized and acknowledged what she had done to me, we have never had the heart-to-heart, sit down, look into your face conversation about what she did and how it impacted my life. What I did learn later on in life was she had been molested by my stepfather, her father as well. It is a cycle that stole her innocence long before my own was taken from her. I saw my biological father on weekends, but the truth is he was just as much of a mess as my mother and her new father were. My father was what many referred to as a functioning alcoholic. He pretended to have his life in order, working his 8 to 5 hour job, coming home to his wife and daughter every night, but he was a bitter and miserable human being who found his refuge at the bottom of a beer bottle. Eventually, that beer bottle would become hard liquor. To him, I was a kid who was merely meant to be seen and not heard. I found my stepmother to be loving and kind, but despite the dysfunctional at my mother's, it was the home I preferred to be in over his. I began to resent the fact that I was made to sleep on the couch at my father's house, while his other children had bedrooms of their own. I did, however, enjoy spending time with my uncles, my father's brothers. We would go camping, fishing, on vacations, and some pretty memorable places. They were nothing like my father in the sense that he was emotionally shut off from the world and treated me like a burden more than a blessing. What I would learn the second time around was sometimes ugliness hides behind what feels like a safe place to be. My uncle, someone who had once made me feel loved and needed, violated that trust by molesting me while I was in the bathtub. Bouncing between both parents' homes added to the displacement that I felt all of my childhood. My father's wife was kind, but they too struggled financially, and I felt an even bigger burden on them as another mouth to feed. My father would get drunk and freely tell me I would much rather be at my mother's house, where although she was permissive and ignored her suspicions of my drug and alcohol use as a teen, I had a room to sleep in. Then it happened again. Another adult woman I trusted and believed had every intention of showing me the love had broken that trust. I was sexually abused one last time. My bus driver to school, who was also my sports coach, took a liking to me. He bought me shoes, clothes, convinced my mother that he would mentor me and look out for me until he crossed the line by molesting me during a camping trip in his tent. He was a man that I really looked up to like a father figure. I lacked in my own father, and he hurt me like so many others I had. It was hard not to feel like just another piece of flesh to be used and discarded. For years, I buried my molestation deep inside me like a shameful, ugly secret, and those who had victimized me, in time I began to forget it even happened. The refusal to acknowledge the events became my means of resetting my life. The truth is that suppressed me caused more harm than a shameful event themselves. The remainder of my life would be spent existing in constant state of fight or flight, where no place in the world felt like home. As I embarked on countless failed attempts at having a relationship with women, I felt miserably. Drugs and alcohol became my method of coping with my inability to trust, to communicate, and to express my emotions. I struggled to identify with myself. Love, I realized was more work than I ever prepared to take on. I attempted to hold on to love or the thought of what love was in my life by threatening to harm myself. She was all that I had. I thought I could keep her by refusing to let her go. I caused her more mental or emotional harm than anyone I ever had. And yes, I told her over and over again I loved her with all that I am. Truth is, without her in my life, with all that I had in my life, I knew that I would be the final breaking point to my own self-worth. She was the last relationship, the last human being that I gave any fragment of validation outside of the recklessest life that I ever been living since childhood. Her son looked up to me for guidance, for fatherly love and protection, and I abused that trust. In a drunken and drug-induced attempt at giving it attention, a woman I am still so ashamed to even speak her name out loud, so that I may never bring her pain again, I drove to her house one evening with the intention of not only taking her life, but my own. She had left me, and in my warped mind, I told myself, if I cannot have her, no one will. The revolver fell to fire, but in a form of divine intervention or not, I was prevented from taking two valuable lives that night, mine and hers. I was arrested and eventually sentenced to over a decade in prison. It was then that my mind began to see more clearly, and yet my heart still refuses to accept the responsibility for the trauma I had caused. Prison life for me is undesirable as it is, became a place to finally stop running from pain of my own childhood. I sought to figure out my life is doing the hardest part of anyone can do to find peace, admitting to myself that I am chained to the suppressed hurt I'd spent decades hiding from myself and others. I decided to become a substance abuse treatment counselor, a position I believe was perfect for me. Considering my past experience with drug and alcohol, not to mention dysfunction and antisocial behavior, I felt that I had much to offer those in recovery. Today I am a certified drug and alcohol counselor. Here at the prison I am housed at, and it has allowed me to start healing in more ways than I ever conceived possible. Purpose is something that is not always going to handle to yourself. I understand that now, but I also know that it is not made available to everyone who is dire need of it. Bad things happened to me as a boy, things that should never happen to be presented to a child's life whatsoever, but they did happen. They happened more than just once, and I became broken as a result. I am now simply trying to find my own way without hurting anyone else ever again, and the process of doing so. I do want to love and be loved. I believe we all want and need that. And yet I believe in self-honesty more than ever now. I do not yet know completely what love actually is, other than it is, without condition and harmless. Keith's reflection. After Jay shared his life experience with me, I couldn't help but wonder what my life in my own home was like before my birth. My biological parents were together, considering they had not separated until I was 3. It was a small moment of wishful thought for me now to imagine that my parents were completely happy before darkness engulfed their relationship. I related to Jay's inability to have, while it is hard to trust in the ability to love without stepping over boundaries when you have to concept of self-love and healthy communication. Today I see Jay as a work in progress that is only made possible by his willingness to acknowledge the imperfections of his life, both then and now. I believe that willingness alone is his grateful asset. Jay, like I have, will know love when it is time. I wish this is him greatly. Thank you, everyone. They're all tapping. For years, I carried a fiction. It's Pedro. Keith's introduction. Pedro became the final focus of the journey I set out on to complete this book. I had to meet him during church services, standing at the pulpit to deliver this sermon on forgiveness and staying the course of faith. His message stayed with me in thought as I considered what was the final chapter of this collection of trauma would be. Pedro shared his life with me, and I cannot lie. I was shaken to the core by his potential for ugliness and repeatedly existence in this world. I was, and remain to this day, honored that the man within these walls would entrust me with something so personal, something potentially shameful to anyone who cared what others might think. But Pedro is by no means affected by the opinion of others. His life, his experiences, as hard as they may be to talk about and share, they are nonetheless fiercely his own. I admire this man's courage completely. Pedro's story. First and foremost, I thank God for the good, the bad, and everything in between, for showing me the way. But most importantly, for the grace in which he has shown me and how we walk in victory, if only we hear his words and his voice. I have never sat down to elaborate and to put into detail the horrific things that should never have to happen to any human being, and in this case, me. But it also happened to people that I love, which are my siblings and my mother. I was born in Puerto Rico. My mother at the time already had 2 children, my older sister, Ines and Margarita. My mother was already afflicted with pain as a teenager.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Of 14. She was raped, and that is how my oldest sister was born. She was raped by twin brothers of a man who will later become my biological father. He crept into her room one night, pretending to be his twin brother, and savagely raped my mother as she held her mouth shut. When my mother did break free, she ran to the rest of the family. They kicked her out of their home into the streets, rather than confronting what had happened to her and bring shame to the household. They accused her of lying and threw her out. She was out in the streets and turned to other relatives from the the extended family, hoping that one of them would give her refuge. Eventually, she was taken in by a man who would later become my biological father after
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an incarcerated individual at the Pleasant Valley State Prison, Coalinga, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a pre- Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
event-
With the phone, Marge.
What's that?
I said the phone was. I kept calling and calling and calling. It said I had a call already active,
Oh,
and it had already kicked me out. So that was giving me problems.
okay. Eventually, she was taken in by the man who would later become my biological father after the two had left the home of his parents and went to be with his relatives. However, after I was born, my mother left my father for another man. This man not only took in myself and my sisters, but they had another child together who would then become my little sister. This man was a monster. Not only did he abuse and rape my mother when he would get drunk, but he would also finish with her, then stumble into the bedroom and I shared with my siblings and molest each one of them. Over the years, it got worse. He stopped fondling us and then began to penetrate with us with his fingers. If we resisted, he would beat us. He forced me to have intercourse with my sisters in front of him, and that when I refused, he would pull out his own and force himself on my sisters while I sat in the corner of the bedroom crying. Before long, the attention seemed to be off of my mother and on to us children. As part of me was relieved because I no longer had to watch this monster beat and rape my mother, but little did I know things that my siblings and I had to normalize would only get worse. My mother's husband was a very sick and disgusting man. His sister, who came to live with us, however, was just as bad. She too began to molest me as a boy, undressing me, making me do things. She always told me that it was okay and that she was going to teach me how to take care of a woman's needs like a grown man should. I became very introverted child. What was being done to me and my sisters made me angry, but I also was afraid and felt helpless against reaching out to tell anyone. So I held everything in until I started to lash out. I had no other way of coping with this constant trauma, and I did not feel like there was anyone left in the world that I could trust with my secrets. My identity was broken. I felt tormented in my own skin. Being sexually active as a young boy did more damage to me mentally than I realized until later as an adult. I did not understand the significance of what sex should really be with a partner. Instead, I used as the means of power, control, with no emotion, attachment, or whatsoever. I tried forgetting my childhood traumas as I got older, but the truth is they became very big part of me, no matter how hard I suppressed them and acted like they never happened. My behavior became more and more risky, so more hurtful to myself towards others. And the worst of it was I felt so alone as a boy. I remember the first time as a teacher in school started to notice that something was wrong with one of my sisters. She sat down with my sister after class, got her to open up to her and call the police. At this point, I now had 4 siblings at home with me who were being sexually abused. Child Protective Services did intervene that day, took my 3 sisters out of the home, but left my little brother with me to fend for ourselves. It was as if us boys did not matter. I remember being more scared than ever because I knew then that was all the perverted and sick attention would be focused on just me and my little brother. Watching my sisters being taken away from us really hurt me. In school, I started getting in trouble. I did not trust my teachers, social workers, or especially the police, who I believe just broke up and separated families. At the same time, my mother was going to court trying to get my sisters back. The courts did not understand. My mother just as much as a victim as my sisters were. The anger I got in the system, in addition to the abuse that I was getting at home, I turned to the streets. The other kids that I started to hang around with did not ask questions about my home life. I started using drugs more often. It became a way for me to numb myself. As temporary as it was, forget about the internal suffering that I was going through. Before long, I gravitated towards the gangs. The gangs gave me a sense of acceptance and belonging that I never got at home. So I went full force into the gangs, just like other broken and damaged kids did. By the age of 13, I started getting arrested and sent to juvenile hall. Even though I was a gang member and it felt like I was accepted by my peers, I still felt very much alone. What seemed to be haunting to me the most was that that age was not just may not be able to protect my sisters, but the sexual abuse, but always having a secret of what had been happening to me as a boy, always being afraid that if the people knew that I had just been molested, they would have looked at me like I was a freak or something. Today, I am in prison serving life without the possibility of parole sentence. This means that when a judge sentenced me for my crime, he expected me to grow old and die in prison, that I am unworthy of redemption and being saved. The first years of my sentence, I had accepted the fate handed down to me from a judge. I took another life, and yet I refused to accept the responsibility for that by acting out with violence in here. It took years for me to let go of that in reality handed down to me in the courtroom. Instead, I started to face the demons that have been dancing in my head since my childhood. I began talking about the trauma, as difficult as it was and still is for me. And I am now working on my healing myself by letting others see the real me instead of wearing a mask. I have denounced my gang affiliation, stopped using drugs, and committing criminal acts while incarcerated. And I no longer feel the need or desire to act out towards people around me. Getting to this place in my life, however, did not just happen in a matter of weeks or months. As hard as I knew that this would be, I knew that I had to share my trauma with the world. Somewhere out there, sadly, there are countless little boys and girls who are being hurt by people who are supposed to be protecting them. I was that little boy. Today, that broken little boy became a once broken man who took the life of another human being. So you see, that cycle of trauma has the devastating potential to destroy lives unforeseen. By the grace of God, I have the ability and courage to now talk about these things in hopes that I save even just one scared and helpless person. Today I walk the prison yard more free than I ever felt in my life. I walk out into the yard and breathe the air as if I were just a small child experiencing life again for the first time. Despite being in prison for life, perhaps I am experiencing it for the first time. What once haunted me, the trauma, is finally letting me heal. Keith Reflections. To truly comprehend the amount of pain, suffering, and torment shown in Petro's life is nearly unimaginable. No one wants to see the depth of trauma that men like him have had to endure, let alone acknowledge such darkness even existence. But it does. It is part of life that we all want to pretend isn't there. I couldn't help but tremble inside when I reached the final sentence, detailing Petro's pain. Here he was, here he is, a man who practices forgiveness even when many might believe he shouldn't. That act alone sets you free from the pain. I cannot say that enough. I have witnessed the freedom in him, unidentably so.
Good job, Margie. Okay, so I have the last epilogue, so I can read that for the
Okay.
last parts now.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Epilogue. You're welcome. Thank you. Epilogue. Before I even considered venturing out to write this book, especially one that would focus on the traumas of other men around me, there was very little thought about how I wanted to approach it. All I knew was that I wanted to help others discover the power that exists in being able to talk about things that happened to them in life, and things that have caused them years of aftershock that kept them from even trying to live a better life than simply what had happened to them. Along the way, as I sat with each one of these men, everything that I once thought about trauma and how it impacted me became so much larger than my own reflection in the mirror. I went years only seeing myself as someone who had been harmed by the people who were supposed to love me and protect me from all the ugliness of the world. And in doing so, I neglected to see that there were others who have been and continue to suffer every day. The pain inside of me was something that filled so much distrust, so much resentment, and so much hatred for the simple fact that I did not deserve it, that I treated the world around me with the attitude that everyone was eventually just going to hurt me. In having that attitude, it gave me the self-permission to hurt others. For that, I am deeply ashamed. My ability to start the healing process is anything but extraordinary. I'm still broken in places that need additional attention. I'm still in ways never going to be completely healed. And yet, because of the willingness to ask others for help, to start talking about the things that I've gone through since my childhood, I am better for it. These men of this book project gave me additional insight into the world around me that I could not have discovered without them. I am forever grateful for that and them. If all else, I hope that this opportunity to share their own story will allow them to embark on a self-journey of their very own, something special and limitless. I was afraid to talk about this sexual abuse I suffered at the hands of my stepfather, but these men gave me the courage to do just that. I realize now that our fear of strength does not just lie within ourselves, but in those who are standing next to us, wanting to carry some of the weight themselves. Human kindness is present in places least expected. Prison walls are no exception. The fact that we, these men and I in this project, are but a drop in the bucket of the pain and suffering that continues to exist in prison is a cycle that cannot cease to thrive unless something is done about it. The system itself is not designed to address this other than giving us the occasional self-help group or workshop that looks good on paper. No, it comes down to men caring for the men around them and stepping outside of the trauma circle that has surrounded us for so long. This is something I have learned along the way of my own self-discovery and transformation. That we do have the power to change the culture around us if we make it our destination. Not alone, but together. Earlier this year, we had a special guest come into the prison and give us a motivational speech. A bit of insight into their own incarceration and successful reentry back into the community. He stated, "You men within these prison walls are gamed up more than you realize. You have lived in the darkest of places, yet you have also discovered how..."
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Back to the surface of light. Having done so, you have the knowledge, the self-awareness, and the desire to never want that side of life where hopelessness rules your every waking moment ever again. I never forgot.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I have thought back to them often when I am discouraged about the future for me and my personal fight for freedom. I guess he is right. My experiences, no matter what they have been, shaped me into me. Where I am today is anything but my final destination. I keep that in mind with every day that I face. I'm going on 32 years of being in physical prison, but that does not mean that my mind and my heart must continue to be held in such a state. No, I am free beyond what many may think. Internally, I have found a place of personal self-worth and love that is a product of having the courage to try at life again despite my incarceration. When I recognize that same attitude in men around me, I am moved beyond words because I know that they have finally started to believe in themselves again. Prison yards are full of trauma, but that trauma does not have to be ignored like it has for so long. If the focus was more on the individual rather than the actions of the individual, I think the culture would start to manifest in overall.
He'll call back. Thank you, everyone. I was nervous doing that. I don't like to read. I don't like reading out loud, but thank you, guys. This is such a good book. It really is. What a book.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Keith Erickson.
an
Keith
incarcerated
has inspired
individual
me to
at
do so
the
much
Pleasant
and go
Valley
out of
State
my
Prison,
comfort zone for a
Coalinga,
lot of stuff,
California.
like
This
more than
call
just
and your
this.
telephone number will be monitored
He
and
really
recorded.
has.
You have a prepaid. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
When I recognize that same attitude in the men around me, I am moved beyond words because I know that they have finally started to believe in themselves again. Prison yards are full of trauma, but that trauma does not have to be ignored like it has for so long. If the focus was more on the individual rather than the actions of the individual, I think the culture would start to manifest an overall tone that gives men hope rather than frustration and desperation. In reading these stories, I hope that you are able to see deeper into the humanity of these men rather than the hurt for which they have caused others. In hopes of healing and redemption, I believe these men have long wanted to rid themselves of the ugliness that has weighed them down much of their lives, and yet had no idea how or where to begin. One cannot ever know where it is they are headed unless they are willing to look back at where they have been. Looking back, as hard as it may be for us, will be the key that sets us free. Healing has begun, theirs and mine. That is it. Marge.
It was great. I love this book.
Yeah, I told you it was powerful. It had some,
Yeah.
it had some very, very raw stories, but stories that needed to be heard because these are, like I said, there's so many people out there that have not shared their stories, shared their truth, and I think this is just another means of helping them heal.
Absolutely. And then as you read, like the guys we already knew that you had on this, had on the show, I was typing in here. I was letting everyone know that's who, this one, that's Tommy. Keith, thank you. It was very powerful. Yeah. Everyone's rating, they love it. They loved it. Yeah. So no, I let everyone know who was who, even like the first time, like who was, reminding them who you were talking about. So yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
go ahead.
There's we had like 5 or 6 guys already on the show.
Right.
Tommy, we had quite Ralph, Manuel, we had quite a few. Francisco.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah. And I've been in contact with, of course, Jonathan, who we're having on Friday. He's another amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I'm actually in contact with his mom. He has me.
Really?
Yeah. Now I'm talking to the mom. He asked me to share the Keith, I send the commercial to him, and he said, he said it's like a record. He keeps playing it over and over. The commercial. He said, I feel important. He keeps playing it on repeat.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he keeps playing it on repeat. He said he loves it. He said, like, I feel important. And his mom's excited. He has family members. Very nice people. Very nice. Keith, it says.
I'm telling you, I think that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, like I said, just that, I realized, I know how that first thing, like that first publication it changes the whole attitude, the whole mindset like that. I'm telling you that you'll hear from him again. I guarantee you he's already working on something else because that's motivation.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
And Lisa says, Keith, incredible book. Well done. Love your reflection part too. See, they like that part.
Thank you.
Your reflection, yeah.
Oh,
And everyone's buying it too. I love it because so many people already purchased it and or are buying it. I have it in my link tree on my page. So if you want the book, you just have to go right on in my bio on my page and just go right there, the Amazon, the link's there. You don't have to go on Amazon, just go right on my bio. You hit the link, it'll take you right to the Amazon page and you can hit it. Easy to find. Yeah, it's really been. I showed it last night. Last night I was live with a friend of Attorney Allie's. Her name is Kristen. She's a legal advisor, and she was screenshotting it, and she was getting it last night. So pretty good. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Good. I got the next guy. I got Davion's. Davion's working on wrapping up his, so I could send that to Crosby too. So, like I said, I want to set the he's an aspiring writer, and he goes home in 6 to 7 months. I want him to get the ball rolling, and have that foundation for when he steps out of here, because I think that something like that could really change the course of his life. Just to have that under, and I want that for him. He's a good man.
You are helping so many of these guys. It's amazing what you do for them. And you're doing good things.
I give him the means. Somebody gave them to me. Somebody helped me. I want to be able to help him as well.
Absolutely.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So I get to have you 2 nights this week. Wow, this is great.
I know. Nani Crosby, I think you're going to love her. I really do. I think that is going to be so, because she's a sociologist. She's the head of the sociology department, and she's a professor as well at Chico State. So she's used to giving her lectures and talk and sharing, and she has such a powerful life story as well. And the fact that what she does is that it's just powerful that what she's doing for all these guys, not just myself giving me the platform to publicate my books, but these other guys as well. And she's just one of the biggest selfless people that I know in the world. And like I said, she's my mentor when it comes to my writing and being able to express, and like she's the one that got me started.
Right.
I can't thank her enough for everything that she's done, and she's always quick to drop everything and help other people as well. Like with Jonathan, she told me that she would never do another illustrated book again because the Whitey's Wish was so much work and frustration for her. And sure enough, 2 or 3 weeks later, she was doing another one for
She's doing it.
Jonathan over there. So so it's
when I spoke with her, she when we were talking via text, and I send her the questions, and she said, "Give me a little bit, and I'll have all the questions answered, and I'll send them to you." And I was like, "No, you go over them. We'll discuss them on Friday." She thought I wanted the answers to the questions sent to me, and I was like, "No." I'm like, "These are for Friday night." She's ready to answer them and send them back to me. I was like, "Nope. This is how we do it." Yeah, she's amazing too. And she sent me a picture right away for Katie, and I really like her also. Yep. Yeah.
She's awesome. She's I'm gonna let her share a lot of the other stuff about herself that you guys will learn about her, but she's got a pretty interesting story as well, and she does. She's awesome.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you send all good people my way. You send all good people my way.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I try to find them. You got me thinking 2 weeks ahead of time. Like, I'm thinking 2 weeks ahead of time.
I know.
And then, I had the idea. I had the idea for the T-shirts. I just gotta type it out and haven't.
Oh yeah, you never sent that over. I know. Just let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, when you get time. You're so busy. I don't know how you find time to do what you do.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know how I do either.
I hear you. I hear
He's
you.
over here playing with his toy. I don't know if you're.
I hear him. Is that Finn?
Yeah, he's playing with his a little squeaker that Angel got him, a little like a Chewbacca octopus thing.
Oh, okay.
Knocking it around.
Oh.
Yeah, he went outside, so he still have to.
Oh, okay. Oh. I can't get over the pictures of Finn when Angel sent those to me. Oh. I was like, that is not Finn. And she's like, no, it is Finn. I was arguing with her. I'm like, it looks so different. And I got.
Oh yeah, I taught him how to jump up on the. We have ping pong tables on the yard, but they're made out of cement slabs, so they're like it's just like a ping pong table, but it's just cement. So he jumps up on there, and then I lean over, and he jumps on my back, and then onto the ground. So he'll jump like a bridge.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Wow.
I taught him that the other night. I tell him to jump up, and then I'll lean over, and I'll tap my back, and then he'll jump on there, and then jump onto the ground.
That's great.
So he's pretty quick. Yeah, I'm buddy.
Well, when she took him over to Soul Dad, Brian and Tommy over there, they were telling me they got to meet him and how great he is. I'm like, I know that. That's Keith's dog. Yep.
Oh yeah, he's pretty sharp. He learned stuff very, very quick. I was kind of surprised, and then I started teaching him to smile, where I hold up my finger and he presses his nose up to my finger to show his teeth, like he's smiling real big. Right. And then I give him a treat, so I just started showing him that the other day.
Oh, okay.
He learned stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Very smart too. I can walk him around off leash, and he'll follow me everywhere. And if dogs are playing, I tell him no, he won't go play, and he'll stay right by me until I say okay, and then he'll go play. And I recall him, call him back.
Yeah.
He comes back. He's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Buddy.
They can't believe what you did with like the guys there, because they're just getting used to that, training and all that. They were like, Keith really knows how to train a dog. I'm like, he sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a lot of years.
Yeah.
It took me a lot of years to
Absolutely.
To learn all that stuff.
Yeah. I didn't know that she took him to different prisons. I didn't know she took him to different places.
I didn't either. So actually, really, that's not normal. Like, they really don't do that, but she, because she brought another dog here, a dog named Sunny, which Francisco has, and this dog he had experienced some trauma. So I needed to take him in. She was going to initially leave him here for a day and then come and pick him up, because she couldn't take him back to that prison, because the prison that she was going to is where he had went to that prison and had issues over there.
Oh.
So, and she couldn't leave him at home, so she brought him here. So I said, just take Finn for the rest of the week. Let me get that dog used to being here, and then I'll pass that dog off to Francisco, because the dog that he had named Cupcake, she got adopted.
Oh.
So Finn just got to go with her for a few days, because it would be hard for me to take care of him here. So
right.
He's always up for a ride to leave out of here with her anyway. So
oh, okay.
She's spoiled him.
She does.
She's spoiled him. She takes him to get she takes him to Starbucks to get one of those doggy
the
frappuccino things.
Yeah. And she's funny now.
He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. See?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then she gave me the pleasure of I send the messages when she has to pick up dogs from handlers. So I pass the message. I'm like, gee, Angel, I love you too, but now I got to listen to them. When Manny had to get a dog ready, he's like, I'm not ready for this. I'm like, oh my Lord. I'm like, you can't do this. You can't be upset every time. I know it's hard, but And then Tuesday, I had to tell Tommy over at Soledad to have 2 dogs ready. I'm like, I have a new job now. And I don't mind. I love Angel. I love her. But I had to have 2 dogs. Yeah, I had to have 2 dogs ready over there for her. It was, I said, look at me. I got a new, and I love helping her. I don't mind. I do not mind.
Yeah, she does so much by herself.
She does.
Yeah.
And when I got
I put a lot of work
when I got my painting of Vinny, she was, oh my God, she sent me a bracelet, a necklace, a cup, and
You have 60 seconds
she sent me
remaining.
lip gloss. She said from the guys. She said this is from the guys behind bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I love you, MargeC.
I love you
guys.
too.
I had fun tonight.
Yes.
And like I said, spread that word about that book. Like I said, that's a powerful book, and I appreciate everybody for
Absolutely.
being here listening tonight and for going out and purchasing it as well.
Absolutely.
And, happy holidays to everybody, too.
And we'll see you
Happy
Friday.
holidays. We'll see you again on Friday.
Yep.
I will be there.
All right.
Yep.
And I'll
All
talk
right.
to you later.
I love you guys.
Love you.
Penny said goodbye.
Bye, Vinny.
Bye. Bye.
Tell Vinny bye. Hello. Well, that was fun. So we're done with the book. I am going to wrap it up over here. We're going to go over to the other app. We'll go over there for a little bit. So everyone, thank you for joining tonight. I really appreciate you. I'm going over to the other app. I'm sure people know where I'm going. I will see you all tomorrow. Yeah, Katie, I'll go over there. I will see everyone tomorrow at 2:30. Everyone have a good night. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Katie. Thank you for joining, and I will see everyone tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.